Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning to this, the Thursday edition of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show where you wake up with the compelling news analysis. My name is Tshwane Mayoral. Just a reminder, please hit that like button if you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, and subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. A reminder, we've got a website, so if you're looking to support the channel financially, anything between 50 to 100 Rand a month, about 75 Rand is the average per person that we make per month, well then find us on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. There you'll find a payment method that suits you. Enough with the jibber jabber on this Thursday morning. Let's get straight into the news. All right, it is another case of the failed coalition partners of opposition parties striking again. Their failure, at least, striking again. One has not seen a failure by supposed coalition partners to coalesce. This time they strike in the city of Tshwane, or Pretoria, as most of us know it, where the DA's candidate for the mayor chain in that part of the world, Tshwane Mayoral, was roundly defeated by the then Speaker of the council, who belonged to the COPE party, or the Congress of the People. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Congress of the People are supposedly in the coalition involving the DA, Action SA, and indeed other opposition parties. So when that same speaker then effectively came out as the mayor of the city after winning the majority of the votes off of the back of the ANC and EFF coalition, that came as I said, a massive surprise. Now, I'm going to read this independent online piece which detailed that chaotic house sitting and the disappointment of the DA coalition. Makwarela, who was the speaker, defeated the DA's mayoral candidate, Brink, who's also a former Tshwane councillor and an MMC, for Corporate and Shared Services. Brink, who had recently resigned as a member of parliament and was selected as a mayoral candidate by the DA-led coalition, lost, as I said, by having received 101 of the 213 votes, while Makwarela managed to secure 112 of the votes cast. The minority party mayor received the support from the ANC-EFF and other smaller parties, saying removing the DA was liberating. End of quote. Now it becomes very interesting. The story becomes very interesting because two things happened here, which really the DA and its coalition partners walked straight into as a form of a trap. Firstly, the speaker, that same speaker who then won as later becoming mayor, had called for a secret ballot. Why? Why would someone call for a secret ballot? Secrecy, as I've mentioned before on the show, should be repugnant in a democracy like ours. But here we are, the DA walking into that particular trap. The second, of course, was the DA simply didn't have the numbers and probably didn't vet itself for the numbers before, where seemingly, as if one is to believe the Premier of Gauteng, a one Panyaza Lusufi, was there at the time of the meeting, suggesting that actual DA members were the ones who voted against their own DA candidates. Watch this.
And we're grateful to those DA members that remain firm to their belief that if you don't do your work, you are voted out, and they extended their vote to us.
Yes, that's the allegation, of course, that is floating around on social media from Panyaza Lusufi, who is, of course, the chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng, along with being the premier now of the province. Indeed, Action SA itself coming out and almost slating this. I could almost sense, this is where I tweeted about this. One can almost sense that Action SA and the DA wanted to be at each other's throats on this particular matter, but for whatever reason this time held their tongue, mainly because perhaps Action SA may have a hand in this, or at least former members of Action SA may have a hand in this. Here is former councillor and indeed MMC member Abel Dao, who used to be an Action SA councillor, celebrating wildly as the DA coalition lost this particular vote. Watch this. A very weird turn of events that, and again I must say this, that particular Abel Dao is a former member of Action SA, and I'm not suggesting Action SA are involved in this, but again, given the track record of Action SA and the DA after they wet the bed, let me say that respectfully, in these coalition disasters that they've had, tending to no at each other, one isn't surprised to see figures like Uebel Tao celebrating the fall of his former actual coalition partners. Nonetheless, Action SA chairperson himself, Michael Beaumont, had a few things to say about this. One of which I do agree with, which is it's kind of odd and slightly amusing that small parties such as Al Jamaa perhaps in Johannesburg, which now has its candidate as the mayor of that city, now this time COPE in Tshwane having its candidate in as mayor in Tshwane or Pretoria, these parties barely received fractions of the votes, yet occupy the most senior seats of power there. This is a tweet by Michael Beaumont where he basically says COPE received 2,597 votes in Pretoria out of the 1.34 million votes cast. Only a paltry 2,597. And he goes on to say COPE received 4,076 votes in Johannesburg out of the 1.84 million votes cast. Now, the personal ambition of two COPE councillors, each with a decimal fraction of a percentage, has collapsed the governing majority of these two metros. And indeed, I agree with him on that regard, but this is also a failure of actual opposition parties, their inability to vet the opposition parties they're in bed with, they're in coalitions with. Of course, politicians are greedy assholes who are looking to get power for themselves. The fact that you're in coalition with them is actually a finger pointing back at you as Action SA, the DA, and other bigger coalition partners for not vetting your partners properly. Is the collapse of these coalitions at a local government level a sign of what's to come after 2024? Are we going to see these opposition parties again wet the bed, this time at potentially a provincial or even national level? And where does that leave us, the voters? All right, I take you to Pretoria now, to the Union buildings, indeed, where a one Cyril Ramaphosa, who yesterday I asked you, what the hell is he smoking in relation to him saying electricity is not our responsibility as the three spheres of government. Now that same douchebag of a president, what is he smoking this time? Where he basically, if reports are to be believed, is looking to retain Bheki Cele, the useless asshat of a police minister, and now shift him to state security to basically make him the minister of that portfolio. Now, very quickly, you'll remember state security, or the spooks, the spies of South Africa, that ministry was actually dissolved and it was absorbed into the presidency. Well, now the president is now deciding, well, because he's focusing on load shedding, he's now going to recreate that ministry and put Bheki Cele at the helm of that ministry. Huh? Why? Why would you do that? And again, it begs the question, what is Cyril Ramaphosa smoking? This is the same Bheki Cele who, if you look at the last crime statistics, was overseeing a sharp increase in the most violent categories of crime in this country, including murder. That guy, that failed police minister, is now going to become the minister of effectively the country's spies and intelligence services. Okay, let me read from this News 24 piece, which basically detailed, according to anonymous sources, of course, the thinking of the president in this upcoming cabinet reshuffle. Now, according to two sources with direct knowledge, Cele is the favorite to become intelligence minister, as he would be best suited, they say, to head the ministry. Insiders who are privy to Ramaphosa's ongoing consultations as he wraps up engagements before he announces changes to his cabinet told News 24 that given the introduction of the electricity minister, which is also said to report directly to him, that's to Ramaphosa, Ramaphosa believes it would make more sense for intelligence, which has been re-established, to now again regain its standalone status. End of quote. What is intelligent about putting Bheki Cele at the helm of the country's intelligence services? Now, bear in mind, intelligence services actually do play a critical function. You know, they are meant to be able to report ahead of the commissioning of either crimes or threats against the country from foreign aggression. So it's a critical, vital service that law enforcement needs to stay ahead of criminals. What about Bheki Cele rings to you as even vaguely intelligent? If you look at the state of crime intelligence within SAPS, which itself is wrought with allegations of corruption, indeed abuse of power, and even just pure incompetence under the leadership of Bheki Cele. What makes you think putting him now at the actual position as Minister of the Intelligence Services is a good idea? Guys, these politicians have zero respect for your life, in the sense that the one function of government, which is meant to protect our life, our liberty, our property rights by enforcing the law through law enforcement agencies, are being eroded and destroyed by ministers and a president who simply do not care. Eroded and destroyed by a political party that has been in power since 1994, namely the ANC, who simply do not care. And I'll go one step further. Eroded and destroyed, perhaps on purpose, by the ANC in order for them to do what they're alleged to always be doing, which is to steal from the state, to use state resources as a personal piggy bank. Is this why we're not seeing useless characters like Bheki Cele actually being fired as he should be? That's the question I have. And the question I have for you, dear voter, is what are you going to do in 2024 to fire Bheki Cele and indeed the entire corrupt political lot? All right, that's it for this episode of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. A reminder once again that you can find us on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. Please visit that website. It's going to have critical information going forward as we begin to launch some campaigns that will see me hit the road once again. On your way out, please hit that like button and share the stream to your friends. If you're enjoying the show, then I'll see you once again tomorrow, bright and early, for the Friday edition of Vuka Nazo.